It was a 10K. Can he go 10K? The kid is 4. He can go 10K after all the sugar. Yeah, he's got the afterburners on after like a bag of Skittles, maybe.
That's a good point.
But I just give him, he calls them his coins. His coins. So it's cute, right?
Coins on a string?
Yeah, he keeps them.
Okay.
I'll lose them, so.
Let's see. Hello. All right, we've got a quorum.
Yeah, now we do.
You have a quorum, Council Vice President.
Scott, can you turn us on? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 5th meeting of the Bridgewater Town Council. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was provided on December 21st, 2023 by sending written notice and electronic notice to the Courier News and the Breeze, posting on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building, and filing with the township clerk. May we have the roll call, please?
Councilman Kirsch?
Here.
Councilman Cardilla?
Here.
Councilman Nogales?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso? Council President Ring?
Councilman Cardilla, would you please lead us in the pledge? If you are able to, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There will be, minutes will be at our next meeting. Moving on to minutes, we will start with Councilman Cardilla.
Council reports, Howard?
Yes, sir.
I just have a short report this meeting. I would like to say I was very pleased to attend the township tree lighting last evening. It was nice to see the public and the children enjoying the ice skating and so on, and the enjoyment of the beginning of the holiday season. I'd also like to remind everybody that we will also be having the menorah lighting on December 26th. I'm also working with the administration for emergency services to work on obtaining a grant for replacing all of the radio systems that we have in Bridgewater for police, fire, and EMS to satisfy the requirement to change frequencies based on a directive from the county government. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kirsch.
Thank you, sir. A few reports. Back November 19th, the planning board met only for the purpose of passing resolutions. Later that week at the League of Municipalities, several of us were there. I'm going to highlight two items. One was a session I attended that featured the legislative leadership talking about their priorities for the lame duck, and for the second year in a row, affordable housing was a prominent part of the conversation, so it's certainly on the mind of many. And then also want to acknowledge that our Mayor Matt Mensch hosted a party that was very well attended, including 4 nominees for governor on the Republican side, and briefly Governor Murphy was there. So when you host something at the League of Municipalities and the governor of New Jersey walks in, you've certainly gotten yourself on the map. And probably the free drinks didn't hurt either. On November 22nd, I had the privilege of attending a cultural event at the Hindu Temple and Cultural Center. Included in that program was distribution of some checks based on the generosity of their members to our first responders, and that included our police department, fire service, as well as EMS. So that continues to be a very strong partnership between the Hindu community and the Township of Bridgewater. On the 26th, the zoning board met, one residential case on Hawthorne Avenue, yet another instance of a resident looking to invest in their property and hopefully stay in our community for many years to come. December 3rd, there was a planning board meeting in this very room. We heard second probably of 3 hearings on the Chick-fil-A proposed over near the Wegmans. And then the other case was a request to transfer the brand of the Residence Inn Hotel that was approved for the site of the Days Inn. It's now proposed to be a Wood Spring Suites. Also on December 3rd, we had an internal meeting. I attended. Several of our staff members were on the call, along with Alex Fisher from our law firm, discussing the dispensary that's in the process of being approved and presumably will be built soon. It is in the borough of Somerville, but it is in the very corner of Somerville and will potentially impact Bridgewater residents. And the statement that I just make to everyone is that whether there's one small neighborhood with a handful of homes, or there's hundreds or thousands of people who are potentially at risk from a negative circumstance, we on this dais, and speaking for myself, we will stand up for Bridgewater's residents, and we want to make sure that that dispensary abides by rules, regulations, and does not create negative impacts in the surrounding community, as has occurred, unfortunately, with one of our other neighbors, Raritan. Last night, I also had the privilege of attending the tree lighting. I wasn't the most famous person there. I think Santa Claus probably was. But we had ice skating set up, and seemed like a good time was had by all. And then the final thing I just want to mention, I presume that we're going to have some discussion tonight about public comment and what that means in Bridgewater and how that's handled at our council meetings. Who gets the first word, who gets the last word. So I'm going to say the first word and simply say that it's my hope that we continue to have open but friendly dialogue, recalling that we are all neighbors. In some cases, we may even be friends, and I'm hoping that any dialogue that occurs can occur in that light. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilman Pedroso.
Thank you, and good evening, everybody. It's very brief. I had the honor and privilege of presenting a proclamation on behalf of Mayor Mensch to Rabbi Ron Isaacs of Temple Shalom. He served Temple Shalom for, I believe, 40 years. Is that right, Michael?
About that.
40 years, and it's quite a resume. So it was really quite an honor to have been there and been able to present that proclamation for him. I hope everybody had a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. And I also attended last night's Christmas tree lighting, always a great event. I like the addition of the little ice skate park. The administration always does a great job running that event. And I also like to announce we have a new member of our family. We got a new little dog this week. So we have a puppy in our house running around. It's quite a joy. My kids are really enjoying that. And so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. My report is as follows. I attended the tree lighting last night in the front of our building and wish to thank whoever in DPW handmade the star on top of the tree. I mentioned to Mr. Pappas last year that our tree needed a star, and he arranged for it. Thank you. You will hear more about the road program in a few minutes, but I wanted to stress that as part of this program, striped crosswalks have been added in a lot of places, as well as stop signs, new stop signs. There are also double yellow lines for a no passing lane adjacent to crosswalks and stop signs. Drivers, please pay attention to that. Don't pass somebody who's stopped at a stop line or a crossing, because you don't know who's in front of their car. Attended a meeting dealing with our sanitary sewer system. One of the 3 relatively new pumps installed at the Gilbride pumping station has malfunctioned and has been disconnected and returned to the manufacturer to be repaired under warranty. These 80 horsepower pumps are big and heavy, so taking them out of service is a lot more complicated than just taking a TV to a repair shop. Speaking of the sewer system, unfortunately, we have been forced to take legal action against Warren Township in their refusal to negotiate an equitable settlement fee for their use of our system, whereby their sewage goes through our system on its way to the regional sewer plant. I met our new full-time zoning officer yesterday. His name is Kevin Lewaite. Kevin comes to us with great credentials and will report to Land Use Administrator Nancy Probst in Tom Genova's shop. We have a new clerk in the clerk's office. Natalie Trozzi is an internal transfer from the tax collector's office, and we welcome her. Attended the monthly Municipal Alliance meeting, very ably chaired by Lynn Hurley of the Recreation Department. The major takeaway is that the marijuana that can be legally purchased is much stronger than originally thought, and according to several major health studies, can have a negative health effect on the user's heart. Drones are in the news and have been seen across the state and even in our town. I've been asked if the township uses drones, and the simple answer is we do not own any drones. Mayor's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Nogales. Just a couple of things. There was a report that was distributed to the members of the council tonight that is the first annual report of the Emergency Medical Services Advisory Committee, and wanted to note that that committee has begun to function and has issued its first report to you. The other handout that was distributed are two photographs or information about two of the items proposed to be purchased through your authorization on the agenda tonight. One is for a camera, and another is for a vac truck, both to be used for our sewer system, and we appreciate the council's funding those important equipment purchases. I want to acknowledge and thank members of the council for being there at the tree lighting last night. Thank our Recreation Department, Office of Constituent Relations, and Public Works and Police for helping to ensure that the event was successful and safe. And we are looking forward to the menorah lighting in just a few weeks. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Under item 7, proclamations, we have none. We're up to item number 8, which is the presentation of the road program. Mr. Pappas will introduce that program.
Thank you. As the council knows all too well, you have been very supportive of the funding requests that the administration has made to fund our road program. This is, tonight we're going to hear from Mr. Genova and Mr. Burr. Mr. Genova, the Director of Municipal Services, and Mr. Burr, our Township Engineer, of the success that we've had in 2024, and promise that Mr. Burr will not list every single road, but there will be the information on the screen for those of you who may be interested as to what roads in each section of town have been improved. Mr. Genova.
Good evening. Is this working? Yeah. Okay. As Mr. Pappas said, we're here to report on the 2024 Capital Road project and what's been undertaken by the engineering division. We have just completed year 4 of the 5-year Capital Road project. Of the approximate 600 township roads, 260 have been reconstructed or repaved since 2020. This represents approximately 44% of the township roads that have been repaved in the last 5 calendar years. This is an exceptional accomplishment that the administration and the engineering division are extremely proud of. Of course, a project of this size requires countless hours of planning, organizing, budgeting, coordinating, and directing. Bill Burr, Township Engineer, leads the project along with Tony Gallo, Assistant Township Engineer, and Kyle Bohm, Engineer Project Manager. This team handles all aspects of the project, from design through completion. After 2024 and 2025, Additional emphasis will be placed on routine pavement management. This will bring the township into a standard annual maintenance cycle rather than a concerted effort to repair extensive damage due to previous systematic neglect. So, at this time, Bill Burr will give a summary of the projects that were completed.
Thanks, Tom, and thank you, everyone, for having us tonight. Before I jump into it, and I promise I'll keep this brief, but before I jump into the progress that we made this year in 2024, I can't help but look back at some of the numbers that Tom just summarized or read for you all. And when this concept of the 5-year road program was first born, it was a monumental task in my mind on how to craft and execute a plan that was so huge, frankly. I can't help but pinch myself now, 4 years later, looking 260-some roads having been improved upon. Almost half of our roadways in town have been improved in a little over 4 years, which to me is just amazing. Represents a little less than 44% of our roads. You're probably looking at about 35% of our roadway mileage, but still a significant investment and progress. And frankly, without this body's commitment to improving its infrastructure, we wouldn't be here. So for that, I thank everybody, and I'm going to jump right into it here. So everybody knows how we've split up the town into 6 geographic regions. First one, Region 1, down in the south. Is it working? It's not. It faded out. Okay. So what you have before you is a map of our Region 1. This is the southeasterly portion of town. Findern Ave runs through the middle of this area from top to bottom. And you can see on all of these slides, you're going to see a similar color scheme. Blue are the roads that have been completed in the last several years. Green are the roads that we completed this year. So you can see we improved 4 roads, the Jamestown, Yorktown neighborhood, and then Acorn and Lilac. That work is complete. So that region is 100% complete at this point. This is a photo of that Jamestown-Yorktown intersection. You can see the top left, what it looked like before, what it looks like now. Region 2, sliding over to the south westerly portion of town. At the bottom of the screen, Old York Road. On the left of the screen, top to bottom is Milltown. Again, you can see all of the blue roads that have been improved the last few years. We listed the 8 or so roads that we improved in 2024 on either side of Milltown Road. So I would expect next year to continue to build on that neighborhood approach. This is an intersection of Morehouse and Aaron off of Milltown. You can see in the bottom right, that is the new condition. As Mr. Norgalis described, you could see the new crosswalks, the new crosswalk signage. We replaced all the stop bars, stop signs were applicable. So it's really been an enhanced safety improvement at a lot of these streets. Region 3, moving up to the, the westerly portion of town just north of 22, Country Club Road area. You can see some of the green roads that we improved. One of the bigger neighborhoods that we improved this year that we completed was the Rolling Hills Road neighborhood, right above Garrettson by Country Club. That was partially funded with a DOT and NJDOT municipal aid grant. And then you can see in green several other roads that we repaired this year. Region 4, moving further north up into the Sunset Lake area, continued our efforts to improve roads around the lake. You can see now we're on the north side in the green at the top of the screen. We also improved a lot of the roads in that Stella, Starview, Clare neighborhood. There are 3 roads remaining that we have every intention of finishing next year. So we just couldn't get all of them done. There's a piece of Stella, a piece of Clare, and then Glenwood Terrace out to Foothill. They will be done next year. This is a before and after of Catalpa up at the lake. You can see left side what it looked like before, right side what it looks like today. Region 5 is coming back towards the central part of town, down where we are right now. You can see in the green, we finished the neighborhood right off of Woodlawn. We finished Somerset Ave. We had paving completed on Highland, Ash, and Liam. And then we moved down Foothill Road. Most of Foothill Road was improved. And then some of the neighborhoods on either side of Foothill Road were completed as well.
Bill, could you point out that Foothill Road is portion municipal and portion county, just so people understand that?
Portion of Foothill? So Foothill Road has dual jurisdiction. So on Foothill Road, if you can picture from North Bridge Street, heading down towards 22 past Steel Gap, that's all under township jurisdiction. The portion of Foothill Road from North Bridge Street heading out to 202, 206 past the intersection with Mine Road, that is Somerset County jurisdiction. So we improved a large majority of our roadway. We also improved the section of Mountaintop Road as well.
Sir, the door has to remain open.
And then the only other thing I would add about Region 5 is,
Hang on a second. Sir, the door has to remain open, please. Thank you. Go ahead, Bill.
so the other improvement that we completed in Region 5 that actually may still be taking place right now, I think it's done, but the senior center. The senior center driveway and parking lot was resurfaced today. As I understand, the striping contractor was striping all of the parking spaces this afternoon. They were going to stay there to completion or come back in the morning to finish it. So senior center, as of today, was completed as well, which is really the last improvement that we focused on for this year. This is Birch Hill off of Foothill. You can see the before on the left and the after. Somerset Ave, again, the before and after. And then last section is Region 6. This is the far easterly portion of town. A concerted effort was put into improving the neighborhood off of Vassar Ave. You can see at the bottom of the screen in green, probably 8 or 9 roads that Glen Road on the left side, Shady Lane, and those roads on the right side. They were all improved with new gas main in the last year, and we took advantage of that to get curbing, some drainage improved, some sidewalk improvements completed, as well as the road resurfacing. As of today, all of that work is completed as well. The only, on this screen, you can see on the top of the screen, there's 4 roads colorized like an orange color. Those, unfortunately, were 4 roads that we did not get completed this year. Engineering, I would estimate engineering is about 80% complete. It should be finished by the end of the year. We have every intention of putting that project out to bid in the early part of 25 for a springtime construction. So those 4 roads were not completed, but they'll be done first on the list in next year. Represents about 59 roads in total that we had plans to improve. Without those 4, we got the rest completed. So we also have the sidewalk maintenance program. You want to touch on that, Tom?
Sure. Okay. The best practice for sidewalk maintenance programs are to identify problems to areas to develop a database to prioritize sidewalks in the most need of repair, and then proceed with the repairs, of course. The engineering division maintains a list with the input from Public Works and the Office of Constituent Relations. Like the Capital Road projects, the sidewalk maintenance program evaluates the condition of sidewalks and where there are trip hazards, but also, like the road programs, we do neighborhoods, the neighborhood approach. The township engages a contractor to utilize saw cutting technology to repair trip hazards. This complies with ADA slope requirements and provides savings over total replacement. However, if the repairs cannot be made due to the severity of the problem, those slabs are replaced under a separate contract. So this year, the neighborhoods that we got done were off of Country Club Road, Glen Ridge Drive South, Golf Links Drive, John Dell Court. Over in Vanderveer Road, of course, we did a large section of Vanderveer Road, Schaefer Road, O'Keefe Road, Bertrand Way, Colmart Way, Freeman Lane, Sally Court, Terrace Lane, and Cross Road. So again, you have just it shows you a before and after on the visual of some of the saw cutting that can take place, but also we did manage to get large sections of sidewalk replaced where need be.
Mr. President, may I just ask a question on this point?
That's fine if you want to ask.
So, I noticed this this list. A lot of these streets are in the neighborhood I live in. My neighborhood was built, roughly 25, 30 years ago. Is this about standard when, a neighborhood reaches that age that, not only do the roads age, not only do the people age, but, the sidewalks age, and then, you see these kind of conditions?
There's many things that come into it, not just the age. You got tree roots that uplift the sidewalks. I've even seen newer subdivisions where you have utility trenches that weren't backfilled correctly in lifts, that it fails. But yeah, I want to say, for the most part, what you said is correct. They should last just like a road, up to 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Continue, please.
So wrap it up here shortly. That's kind of a breakdown of the 24 plan. We've already started, no rest for the weary, but we've already started crafting our 2025 plan. That's underway, and I suspect we'll be back before you in the new year to present where we're at with that. But two more things I want to touch on. I think we were here earlier in the year, I think it was maybe April, with representatives from the gas company, PSE&G. So I just wanted to give a quick update to everybody on where that project stands. It's been a long project. We're probably going on 3+ years of gas main replacement. They came to us in 2021 with a plan to replace about 21 miles worth of gas mains through town. 2,500 homes were going to receive new gas service. So it was an enormous project. To date, they've completed about 19 miles worth of that gas main replacement. About 90% of the work is complete. The only roads that remain, and they have not identified a schedule as of yet, are Woodlawn Avenue, right here, and Brown Road. There's one other neighborhood off of Country Club. They haven't committed to it, but they're very close. The frustrating part with the project, not only because it's taking so long, the frustrating part, I think, is the service work, the individual services to the homes. It's sporadic where they work. It takes time, and it extends the project, and frankly, it causes frustration. I know that with the detours and such. We had a conference call with gas company representatives today. They have about a week's worth of services. Right now, their focus is in that Country Club, Meadow, Church Road, Van Holten Road area. That's the current project. They have about a week's worth of services left on Meadow and Church Road. They've then said they have about a month worth of work on Country Club left. So we could see that project extend at least through the end of January into the new year, but they're getting close. And what you will see heading into 2025 is all of the roads that they've worked on on Country Club, Meadow, Van Holten, Church. Those roads are going to be repaved just as we saw on the roads by Vossler. So we're getting close. They are making progress, but it's slow going. So I would anticipate the early part of the new year, that portion of the gas main project will be complete. And certainly in 2025, you're going to see those roadways get resurfaced. We just have a couple of those roads remaining that they have not yet committed to a schedule on. They have not been approved to work on those roads yet, but they are on their to-do list. So I just wanted to give everybody a quick update on the gas company. All right. And the last one, last slide, really is something that I'm probably most proud of. This is just a quick summary of some of the grant money that we've been able to obtain this year for the township. We've been not only very aggressive at seeking out grant money, but frankly also really successful. And it's a collaborative effort with the engineering group and the administration in terms of identifying what we think are good candidates for grants, as well as making sure it's the right program. So this is just a quick update on what's come through in the recent past. We were just notified a couple weeks ago that we got almost $360,000 towards improving the northerly portion of Country Club, Ardsley, and then Goldfinch out to Meadow. We also have money to improve the neighborhood Plymouth, Jeffrey, and Ryan, which is up by the Crim School near Crim and Mountaintop, or excuse me, Washington Valley. This is a new program that we were able to hit on, is the NJDOT Local Transportation Projects Fund. We got $750,000 to improve Van Vechten and South Avenue off of Findern. And then the bottom two are federally funded grants through the Safe Routes to Schools program. Those include improvements to the Garrison Road corridor, as well as Adamsville Road over by the Adamsville School. But you can see $768,000, $962,000. So all told, over $3.2 million worth of grants to further improve the infrastructure. So with that said, that's all I have. I don't know if Tom has anything else, but we're here to take questions and hopefully answer.
I want to thank you both for your leadership in this program. I know when we started it 4 years ago, we had a vision that we needed a lot of work on our streets, and you've done a lot, one more year. Are there any questions or comments for these gentlemen?
I have a comment in looking at the work in the southeast portion of the township on Glen Road, Glen Park, and Shady Lane, knowing the situations that existed for trip hazards with the sidewalks and the curbs and the road work that was done, I have to say, once they got there and started working, they did a phenomenal job. I know the Shady Lane, I think, finished up either yesterday or I believe, and looking at the weather from the beginning of the week, I thought, uh-oh, this is going to be a problem. But looking at the Shady Lane area today, it looks great. And the, not only the road, but it was the amount of sidewalks and the curb work that had to be done, which really uplifted the neighborhoods and just made it for a better environment.
Yes, Mr. President, two comments. Well, first, thank you for all this very, very strong work on behalf of our residents. The two comments is the $40 million that we, made a commitment, roughly 32 million down, 8 million presumably to go. Lot of money, without question. But, I know one of the things that sold me on it was the idea to, through this investment, we will then be in a much better condition. We go back to the red, yellow, green, and all that orange and all that kind of stuff, where hopefully the days of the red and the orange roads are behind us. And then when we are talking about overtime repairs, repairing something that's, in that yellow, light orangey area is certainly much cheaper. So, I'm happy that so much of this is behind us and that now we are at a point where our more considerable investments are hopefully behind us. The second thing is, the second piece of this, I know you mentioned it, it's not just the, you know, the complete replacements, the repaving, it's also the refinishing. So that, you know, this plan is intended to treat roads as they need work, so that each and every one of them can be preserved. A road that, you know, instead of needing a paving in 2 years, through some lesser work, that becomes 5-6 years down the road. So, you know, that's what sold me. I think this has been a wonderful investment, and I think it is not only a benefit to our residents now, but certainly those who will come in the future as well. It's a good approach. Thank you.
Philippe?
I'm going to join in thanking you guys for coming here today and presenting this thorough presentation. I always enjoy listening to you both. But I think it's worth noting, I think it's important to say that I guess kudos to Mayor Mensch, because, you know, 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, he campaigned, and one of his campaign promises was, I'm going to fix your roads. And he kept that promise. That's something he's been very diligent on and working very hard to do. And year after year, he makes it a priority to fix our roads. So just want to make a note, you know, congratulations to Mayor Mensch for everything he's done, and to the administration for all the hard work you're doing and executing that vision. I know that Councilman Kirsch also campaigned with the mayor and shared in that vision and in that platform. And so these guys deserve a little bit of credit for having the vision and the leadership, putting forward to have this long-term vision and make this investment in our township. So make a note of that.
Thank you. Mr. Norgalis, may I just...
I was going to ask you, Mr. Pappas, do you have any
comment?
closing
Yeah.
comments you'd like to offer?
I want to thank Tom and Bill for their efforts, and there are others that participate in monitoring this regularly. We have a group that meets weekly to ensure that there's collaboration and communication among all of the appropriate stakeholders. Certainly engineering, municipal services, the police department, traffic safety is involved, because they, and Public Works, Dickie Shimp, our superintendent of Public Works, is sitting around the table. OCR, the finance office, we really try to ensure that everyone that has a perspective and has a role to play in ensuring that this program is successful literally is sitting around the table to ensure that we have the appropriate level of communication, collaboration. So Tom and Bill certainly have taken the lead, but there are many others that take part in what has become and hopefully will continue to be a very successful program. Thank you on behalf of the mayor to the council for supporting it.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. We're now open to up to item number 9, meeting open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matters will be allowed this says 3 minutes to speak unless there are unusual circumstances. Motion to open to the public, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are open to the public. Please come forward, give us your full name and address, and tell us what's on your mind.
My name is Joan G. Geiger. I am a 66-year-old woman and a 28-year resident of Bridgewater.
Your address, please.
154 Hillside Avenue, Bridgewater.
Thank you.
In deference to this, I'm asking you to please refrain from stop watching me, interrupting, asking me to wrap it up, or turning off my mic. Please, just listen. It's not a lot to ask. When a member of the public challenges you, as I often do, it's a compliment. You're grown men. You're intelligent. You're educated. You're seasoned politicians. You can take it. Sometimes the hardest part of our meetings are the public comments. I understand that. It's also the most important part, to listen to your constituents' concerns so that you can better serve our community. I brought with me today a copy of the Norman Rockwell painting symbolizing our democratic right to free speech. Marguerite, could you stand up here so the camera can see it? This picture has endured for over 80 years as our most basic symbol of free speech. An ordinary person standing up to speak at a town hall meeting. For the 28 years I have enjoyed living in Bridgewater, sending my children to our excellent public schools, benefiting from the safety of our community, thank you to our police department, and paying reasonable taxes, at least until now, I never imagined that I would need to appear before the Bridgewater Council to advocate for the right of my fellow Americans to meaningfully exercise the freedom of speech. My point, your 2-minute, recently extended to 3-minute, with a 4-minute cutoff, fails to do this. Gentlemen, what are your concerns? That too many folks will speak too long? There's usually a handful of people here and very few asked to speak. That you will hear things you don't like? Man up. Ignorance? Then take corrective action. I call on you to change your policy to 6 minutes. It fulfills your duty as elected officials to listen to your fellow residents. It allows Bridgewater citizens to meaningfully exercise freedom of speech. It is still less than many of the municipalities allow in this county. It will assist you in implementing changes, correcting mistakes, and improving our community. Township Resolution 05020337, Article 2, Section 3 states, public attendance and comments during meetings are welcomed and encouraged. Are they? Does your definition of welcoming and encouraging including cutting off the mic on a senior citizen, a woman who has been a resident for 40 years, as you did at the last meeting? Councilman Pedroso, at a recent meeting, you stated, I refuse to stay silent. Will you silence us?
Ma'am,
After 3 minutes?
please direct your comments here.
Councilman Kirsch, you state on the township website that you want to make interaction with our government easier. 3 minutes does not allow meaningful comment on complex issues such as the budget or the surplus depletion. But then maybe the council prefers it that way? Councilman Nogales and Cordilla, you've served longer than anyone else here. The last 7 months that I've attended these meetings, has it been an aberration? Is the room normally full of folks, all who want to speak at length? Mayor Mensch, who's not here, and I hope he's okay because I think this is about the 4th meeting in a row that he's missed, so I sincerely hope he's all right. But he cited fearlessness as a quality for leadership. And I would ask him, and I would ask all of you, are you fearless when it comes to listening to strong women, to senior citizens, to constituents who say things you may not want to hear? Well, prove it. Extend the time extend the time limit to 6 minutes, as is the Mayor Mensch. I'm sorry, he's not here. He has the right to ask you to extend the time. President Nogales, or Acting President Nogales, President Ring was the moving force behind streaming these meetings online, presumably in the interest of communication and openness. And I'm urging you now all to take this further and support a 6-minute limit. I don't think you realize it's insulting to limit grown men and women, most of us long-term residents, most of us senior citizens, and all of us concerned citizens who bother to come here and speak, to just 3 minutes. And for your information, your bylaws, and here they are, by your bylaws, you allow yourselves, quote, not less than 5 plus an additional 5 for responses. And I would ask you, are the people of Bridgewater any less deserving of a voice? It is disrespectful to be stopwatched, interrupted, asked to wrap it up, and have the mic shut off when we address serious concerns about the budget, the surplus depletion, the development of a site with contaminated chemicals, bond issues, skateboarding, or a high accident intersection. I don't know if you realize how important your jobs are. It is the utmost importance in our democratic system. The town hall is the bedrock of democracy, and Norman Rockwell aptly chose it to depict freedom of speech. This is where democracy begins. Be courageous in your defense of it, and welcome its meaningful exercise by Bridgewater residents and your fellow Americans. We, the people, deserve this. You can do this right here, right now, in this room, tonight, by resolution. A resolution for this was submitted, and I have it right here with me. Okay? In compliance with your bylaws, okay, for action tonight. But mysteriously, it did not make the agenda. Regardless, check your bylaws. A resolution does not have to be on the agenda for you to vote on it tonight, assuming you have the courage to do so. And Sitting President Norgalis, you have the authority under the bylaws to add it to the agenda right now. This is really a very small request, but your actions tonight or inactions will speak volumes to the people of Bridgewater. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geiger. Anyone else wishing to address the council, please? Please come up, sign your name, give us your name and address.
Sure. Hello. My name is Carolyn Joya. As a resident of Bridgewater for 25 years and in Warren for 5 years.
Address, please.
I put it on the paper.
Pardon? No, for the tape.
I put it on. I wrote it.
I'm sorry?
I wrote it right here.
Yeah, but tell us so we have it on the tape.
We don't have to do that. Okay? Can I proceed?
Okay.
Thank you.
Proceed.
I'll start again. As a resident of Bridgewater for 25 years and Warren for 5 years prior to that, I wanted to comment tonight on some recent happenings and concerns I have about safety in our community. On the Monday before Thanksgiving, it was reported that our Bridgewater PD assisted several other PDs in capturing 3 out-of-state burglars who robbed a Warren business in the early AM hours. The manhunt involved police, canine units, helicopters, and a high-speed chase down Washington Valley Road, which ended in a crash near Dockwatch Hollow Road, bordering Martinsville, where I used to live. Admittedly, in a high-speed chase, a high-speed chase down the unlit roads of a sleepy residential town somewhat shocked me. But with a new police chief and former street cop trainer in Warren, I gave the benefit of the doubt, assuming that just must be the way you catch a criminal these days. And then commenting to the press about it afterwards to discourage future perpetrators from trying it again. Well, you know what happens when we assume, because this Monday, exactly 1 week later, there were 4 more overnight smash and grab burglaries in Warren, and similar burglaries reportedly happened in nearby Bridgewater as well, according to the Bridgewater Patch. Only adding to this drama, I've also learned of what some have called nefarious drones, which you mentioned, that have flown over Trump National Golf Course in Bedminster, which spurred an FBI investigation and the institution of a no-fly zone there and over a military facility in Morris County. Media reports say drones have also been sighted since mid-November along the Raritan River, over RVCC, over water reservoirs, rail stations, electrical facilities, and police stations. I'm aware that after consulting with Homeland Security, Governor Murphy has stated that there is no known threat to the public at this time, and Bridgewater PD has posted online about how to report suspicious drones. Nonetheless, their mere presence, coupled with the recent burglaries and the expected deportation of immigrants promised by our president-elect, has me concerned enough to speak tonight about potential community unrest. In the beginning of November, there was a week-long police training for numerous police agencies at Patriot Stadium. While I'm hoping it was somewhat routine, I can't help but think whether any of the topics I've mentioned here are in any way connected. To conclude, based on the results of a very contentious election, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Bedminster is only one town over. Does that put Bridgewater at risk, and are we prepared for a worst-case scenario? Now more than ever, it is crucial that our council is prepared to bring our community together and ensure safety and calm should tensions rise down the road. Last night's tree lighting and community ice skating event is a perfect example. On that positive note, and with my best intentions to remain aware and inform my neighbors, I encourage all those here tonight and live streaming to be mindful of your surroundings. Check on your neighbors. Get in the habit of locking your cars and your homes, and report anything unusual or suspicious to our very capable Bridgewater PD. Thank you for your time, and may we all stay safe and well.
I'd even suggest if you have a car in your garage, you lock it in the garage also. And by the way, your drone issue was very well taken. There was an interruption of a medical flight that was trying to land at RVCC and could not because of a drone. It's not a Bridgewater drone. I want to make sure everybody knows that. We just don't know, and but hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it. But thank you for your comments.
No problem. I'm noticing a lot of chatter online. That's why I thought it was worth saying. The community groups talking about it, and just we want to quell some fears.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Come on up, sir. He's first.
My name's Elizabeth Colucci. I've been a resident of Bridgewater Township for over 35 years. I am also a recently retired special educator with 40-plus years experience, over 20 of them at Bridgewater Raritan Middle School, which I miss dearly. And I think I've actually worked with, is it your son that's a teacher at the middle school? Yes, in fact, I worked with him just the other day. He's a great teacher, by the way. Of course, I'm sure you already know that. Being retired, I've tried to kind of find my way and get involved in some other things, and I was watching the last meeting, and I was really concerned about the level of disrespect that was shown to some members of our community that evening. I found it rather appalling and disturbing and sort of embarrassing. I must say that this type of behavior would never have been tolerated in my classroom. That student would have been pulled out and spoken to for sure. I can only hope that this is an aberration and not common practice, since this is This environment is new to me. I feel that any member of this community that takes the time to present themselves to this body deserves 5 minutes of your time, because they've gone out of their way to present themselves here in front of you. So thank you for your time.
Okay, sir, your turn.
My name's Dan Zielinski. I have my address written down here for you, as everybody else has been doing. I just want to point out that this is a pretty interesting illustration that was brought, but there was one piece that was missing from this, and that is what happens to be in this gentleman's pocket, which is the Constitution of the United States. Just a fact I happen to know. Bridgewater's budget was delivered a month's late, and residents were given 1 day to review it before this council approved it. An illusion of no tax increases was attempted by claiming Bridgewater's residents were being delivered a flat tax rate, much different than than what this council has oversight on, which is the tax levy. We received an 11.8% tax increase, and which was an unprecedented tax increase in Bridgewater. And to hold off a far larger tax increase, $6 million from our surplus was spent to hold off a far greater increase. This left Bridgewater with a dangerously low budget surplus of only $445,000 and no path to replenish that $6 million reserve. For each $1 million shortfall we have in running our town, our taxes increased by 4.8%. If this administration cannot bring in 2025's budget $6 million below this year's, we will face a 28.8% tax increase. This, in accounting terms, is known as a house on fire, and it means that we are basically broke. I have seen no path to replenishment of this level of funds in our surplus, and this council remains silent, and at this point, my third time coming up talking about this issue, I have to say, it seems like the council's also complicit. Twice I have spoken to this council concerning the dire financial situation this administration has put our township in, and the council's complacency to either hold the administration accountable or address my concerns, or I'm going to say our residents' concerns. It tells me that you don't understand what's happening, or you just don't care. Council President Ring emailed me to explain the council's functions with a strong mayor and a weak council, in effect abdicating the council's responsibility to hold the administration's feet to the fire to control our taxes. 30 days after it was delivered to the council, the budget was approved. With this year nearly over, what were the findings of this past year's audit, and what were the recommendations that were made? It was presented to me by Mr. Ring that that process had gone through, but there was no further communication about that. What steps are being taken to minimize a potential 28% tax increase next year? How long must we wait to get substantial feedback on this critical financial situation? Or, is it your intention never to address any of these questions that I've presented to you? With that said, I'm going to leave a list of the questions one more time in the hopes that a dialogue will begin to take place between the council and myself and residents concerning what, in my mind, looks like a very dire financial situation. If Bridgewater were run as a business, and this was what the financial picture looked like, we wouldn't be sitting here today issuing raises to the same people that are responsible for putting us in this dire financial situation. Thank you.
Come on up, ma'am.
She'll distribute.
Sure, I'd love to have that. I love Norman Rockwell. That's great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Marguerite Baranowski. First, I would like to say I agree with Joan Geiger on the freedom of speech. Now that I'd like to say I'm concerned about warehouses. Since there are vacant ones still not occupied, don't you think that they should be first instead of looking to build new ones? If they were in your neighborhood, how would you feel about that? Maybe you should consider housing, apartments, or senior citizen housing. So can you try to think more about the constituents in our town first? Thank you.
Ma'am, for the record, we have an ordinance which prevents warehouses. There is one that was started prior to the effective date of that ordinance, but basically we do not permit warehouses on a going forward basis. There are two that were part of historical plans, but we're with you on that. We don't want any more warehouses.
Great.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Seeing no motion, could I have a motion to close public input, please?
Make that motion.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are closed. Thank you for all of you who participated in the open to the public. Next, we're up to 10A, hearing and final action ordinance.
Mr. Council President.
Sir?
Mr. Council President, I'm sorry, I have a short statement.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to thank the public for coming up and speaking and sharing your opinion. Like what some of you said, I too value very strongly the public portion of the meeting. I certainly have always encouraged members of the public to come and speak and address this governing body. And I take your input and opinions with great weight. And so I do believe strongly, like some have said, that public comment is an important part of our democratic process. And your right to come and address this governing body or any other governing body is extremely important, not only for us, but for our democracy as a whole. So I agree with the statements that have been said. Time limits, however, in addressing governing bodies are common and standard across this country. They provide time limits, in fact, one could say actually guard democracy because they provide everybody an opportunity to speak and provide an opportunity to come and address this governing body without filibustering and providing excessive comments and excessive time that may prevent others from speaking and sharing their opinions. Time limits have been established to protect everybody and provide a fair and equitable opportunity for people to come and address the government. They actually, in fact, assure that people are provided a fair and equitable environment to speak. Everybody has a fair amount of time and an equal amount of time to address their opinions. And although the amount of time can be debated as to what is fair and proper, someone said 6 minutes, somebody else said 5. Someone may come before us and say 10. Someone may feel 2 is adequate. Some may feel 2 is too much. There are all sorts of opinions. What I can share with you is that Philadelphia, the city that one can say is perhaps the founding city of democracy of America, they have a 3-minute time limit for members of the public to speak. And certainly I will take weight and consider what is appropriate and fair. But this governing body does provide, has always provided, a place for people to come and share their opinions. We do hope that people are respectful as we are to the public. But your comments, I want you to know, are very important to me and I believe to this governing body.
Thank you. Moving to item 10A, public hearing and final action ordinance. An ordinance amending ordinance number 24-12 of the Township of Bridgewater, setting the compensation of the mayor, township council members, department heads, and certain other municipal employees pursuant to Chapter 374 of the Public Laws of 1985, NJSA 2A 809, NJSA 2A 8-13, NJSA 40A 9-165, NJSA 40A 9-35, 135, NJSA 40A 9-146, and Chapter 95 of the Public Laws of 1996, to amend the salaries of the municipal court judge and the court clerical administrator to reflect the township's shared services agreement for municipal court services with the borough of Raritan. At the, I believe it was when this meeting took place several weeks ago, there was a question of why did they get raises, and it was not clear at that point, but that was because of the merger with Raritan for the Butzing. May I have a, is there any comment so far at this point? Could I have a motion to open the public for a meeting regarding this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to open to the public to discuss ordinance 10A.
I'll second.
Second, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are open to the public for any discussion on 10A. Anyone wishing to address the council, please come forward.
Seeing no
Seeing no
interest
action.
in discussion from the public, I'll make a motion to close the public portion and to move for final adoption pending any conversation that may be required.
Any comments from the township, from within the council?
I have a brief comment. As I said last time, Bridgewater Township has now taken on, is now doing a third township, right, with Bridgewater, Somerville, and now Raritan. That certainly increases the workload on our court, and therefore I think people should be fairly paid and compensated. The judge and the court clerk certainly deserve to be fairly compensated, and they have more work and to deserve more pay. I'd like to note that our court is exceptionally run. It's extremely efficient, and it is really a top-tier court in this state. We should be very proud of our court system here in Bridgewater, as I am. So I will support this ordinance.
And it is worth knowing that all of these increases are totally covered by the compensation we receive from the borough of Raritan. If there are no other comments, could we have a roll call, please, on 10A?
You may need a second.
Sorry?
I think you need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
A second, please.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion within the council? Any questions for Mr. Pappas on this? Seeing none, a roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council Vice President Orgalis?
Yes. Okay. Under I, authorizing the appointment of Catherine Samad as Township Planner for a period commencing on November 11th, 2024, and terminating on December 31st, 2024. The amount to be paid on the balance of the contract is expected to be less than $17,500. Mr. Pappas, any comments on that, please?
No, this is just a resolution to recognize and confirm Ms. Sarmed's change from her previous employment with Harbor Consultants to her own firm, and her service, we believe, has been extremely beneficial to the township, and hope the council will support this.
Okay, could I have a
Council
motion?
President,
Sir.
just recalling our conversation from earlier today, you wanted to strike through amendment in the final whereas clause, the words, the balance of.
Yeah.
So let's, Julian, if you.
Can we do that?
I think that one of the council should offer a motion as amended to strike the words, the balance of.
Will a motion or accept a modification that? It seemed to add more clarity. Council and I spoke about it this afternoon.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, a seconder accept the modification?
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council Vice President Norgalis?
Yes. Okay, we're up to J, authorizing execution of a subordination and standstill agreement with NJ Group LLC for the property located at Block 400, Lot 7, parenthesis 530 US Route 22. And I'm sure you're all waiting for what a standstill agreement, which will be, I Googled it, so I think I understand it, but I think we need a technical explanation.
This was Alex and I, our first standstill agreement after many years of practice. I mean, Administrator Babbitt, whatever you want to do here. So it's just a right of redemption, essentially.
Okay.
You're an expert now too, Council. You look at it. Standstill agreement just allows us.
Thank God for Google.
Thank you. It's going to replace all of us someday.
Okay. And this is the Hyatt, I'm sorry.
The Hyatt House just allows us a right of redemption before we foreclose on any document. Allow them to redeem. It's a simple document. That's required by Fannie Mae. So.
Okay. And by the way, the Hyatt House is assisting us in meeting our affordable housing criteria. Anything else, Mr. Pappas, that you'd like to add on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Could I have a motion on J, please?
Mr. Council President, just
Sure.
for the record, I will be voting no, which is consistent with my position on this matter from the time that it was originally introduced. My vote was no then, and my vote is no today.
Okay, thank you. Motion, please?
A motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cordilla?
Yes.
Council President Perdoso? Sorry.
No.
Vice President Norgalis?
Yes. Okay. Items K and L have been removed by the administration. I'd like to consent on M and N, which are both related to DPW. I'll read them as follows. M is award of contract to VACCON Incorporated, 3388 Route 22 West in Branchburg, NJ 08876, in the amount not to exceed $27,963.45 for the purchase of a Roush push camera for the Bridgewater Township Sewer Department via the Sourcewell National Cooperative Purchasing Program to be funded from the sewer operating account. Mr. Pappas or Mr. Genova, any comments on that? If you say one word about what a push camera is.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to really, for the public to understand. So Resolution M is for a Roush push camera. The new camera is going to replace one that's failing. Basically, they're used to, find out where the problem is in the sewer lateral, typically. And this particular camera has a head that rotates 360 degrees so that we can see clearly where the problem is, how far in it is, and again, for the general public, when you have a sewer backup, time is of the essence. And they are the unsung heroes that come out even in the middle of the night to clear the sewer out. So that's with regard to the resolution M.
Okay, I'm going to read N, award of contract to VACCON Incorporated, 3388 Route 22 West, Branchburg, New Jersey, 08876, in the amount not to exceed $529,937 for the purchase of a jet vac truck for the Bridgewater Township Sewer Department via the Sourcewell National Cooperative Purchasing Program to be funded from the sewer capital account. The scary thing about this, and I was mentioning it to Mr. Credilla, is we were both here sitting when the last one was ordered, a dozen years ago, so, but it has served us well. Would you like to offer a comment?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. Again, that truck is out on the road at all hours, and these are hard hours on that truck as it's jetting through the sewer system to clear it out. So this particular truck is a 2025 combination jet vacuum sewer cleaner. It's on a Freightliner single axle chassis, has a 3600 CFM vacuum, 9-yard debris body, 1,000-gallon water tank, and it also has the option of hydro excavation. Again, this truck is out every day on call for emergencies after hours. The average life of a jet vac truck is 8 to 10 years because of the hard hours. The current truck is failing, and this office recommends the purchase of this VACCON truck.
Thank you, Mr. Genova.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions on M or N? If not, may I have a
Quick question on the truck. We're going to authorize purchase presumably right now. When will we be able to acquire it?
February. 'Cause I asked the DPW superintendent that yesterday, and he said by February.
Okay, because I know
It's available.
I know getting cars and trucks can be a challenge, but getting this one is on a good path.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a
sure.
second, please?
I'll have a second with a question. Purchasing this equipment, what about the use of it in municipalities other than Bridgewater?
This truck?
Yeah.
We have not used our truck, well,
We're not sharing it.
we really haven't had any requests in a long time from other towns.
We've curtailed that because these are expensive pieces of equipment, and we need usage of them ourselves.
And the important thing, it is a very sophisticated truck to operate, and therefore, if you let somebody use it, you need to provide the personnel. And so for the last couple of years, we've been kind of stingy and kept it to ourselves.
We want it to be there for the Bridgewater residents.
Yes.
Well, and a representation of the considerable investment being made
Yes.
from the sewer utility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Question,
not being selfish.
is this coming from the 2024 budget or the 25 budget?
24, the capital budgets, we're paying cash.
The utility.
Okay.
Utility, yes.
You have the money?
Yes, sir.
That's what cash is, yep.
Just making sure.
The utility budget.
With my question answered, I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Vice President Norgalis?
Yes. Okay, we're
Thank
up to O, which is the authorization, acceptance of the site improvement to the parking expansion completed to date and reduction of the cash performance guarantee in the amount of $305,575,000 to $91,675.50, which is a 70% reduction of $213,902.50 for SRI Ventur Swami Temple, which is the Hindu Temple and Cultural Center, Block 483, Lots 2 and Lot 12.02, which is 1 Balsami Temple Drive. They have satisfied the requirements. May I have a motion to approve this reduction?
Make that motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Kirsch?
Yes.
Councilman Cardilla?
Yes.
Councilman Perdoso?
Yes.
Council Vice President Norgalis?
Yes. Okay, we're up to P right now. I'm going to read it, and then Michael will introduce someone. Resolution designating the properties identified as Block 221, lots 1.02, 1.03, 1.04, 2.00, and 2.01 on the tax map of Bridgewater as an area in need of redevelopment, non-condemnation pursuant to the New Jersey Local Development and Housing Law, NJSA 40A, 12A-1 et sec, and directing the Township Redevelopment Planner and Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan. Mr. Pappas, your call, please.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Sullivan, the township's designated redevelopment planner, is here. He has issued a report that was issued to the planning board based upon the council's directive. The planning board has reviewed this report. Council certainly has received this. The planning board adopted a resolution recommending this action of the governing body, and that's what you're going to be considering tonight. Mr. Sullivan is here to present this summarization of the report that he provided to the planning board, where there was a public hearing held.
Good evening. For the record, Michael Sullivan, Township Redevelopment Planner with Clark Caton Hints in Trenton, New Jersey. Good to see you again. Tonight I'm going to fill you in on what the planning board resolved and recommended with respect to the Graymark office tract, which is also known as 1200 Route 22 East. This process began when the Township Council directed...
Michael, can you get closer to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Better? Is that better? The process began when the Township Council directed the Planning Board to study this area, which is 1200 to 1220 US Route 22. It's on the south side of Route 22. As an area in need of redevelopment, the process for doing so is called a preliminary investigation. My office prepared a report dated September 2024, and we presented this information to the Planning Board. At the October 15th, 2024 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board heard the evidence contained in the report, reviewed that after a public hearing, and recommended that the governing body designate this area as an area in need of redevelopment. So tonight, I'm going to take you through some of the highlights that we talked about at the Planning Board and the evidence that we uncovered within our investigation. So the first okay, we're mirrored here. So that's the location of the study area. We call it the Graymark office tract study area because of the original development was Graymark office building. It's composed of 5 lots, tax lots. There's block 221, lot 1.02, 1.03, 1.04, 2, and 2.01. And it has an acreage of about 28 acres, just under that. It's 5 lots. Based on the tax assessment data, only 6.8 acres is actually developed. The rest is considered vacant by the tax office. The entire study area is owned by one property owner, 1200 Route 22 Land Investors, LLC. And that's the tax map that's now up there, so you can see that it's just a rectangular area. So the existing conditions, this is an aerial that was from the spring. It's a satellite image. And you can see, hopefully you can see my cursor, it's a hand. You can see the existing office building close to Route 22 to the top of the aerial photograph, and the associated parking there. The building is 110,000 square feet, roughly. It's a typical 1980s office building with ribbon windows. It's got more than one tenant. There are medical tenants. There's Barnabas Health, Astera Cancer Care, and it's got 376 parking spaces. Lot 1.02 is to the right of the office building, and it's a larger lot. That contains stormwater management facilities, including a basin, and some other improvements related to stormwater management, as well as the Cuckles Brook, which runs through the right side, the eastern portion of that area, and the stormwater basins are associated with that. Lot 1.04 is to the directly south of the office building, and that's an undeveloped or partially developed area that's overgrown and is got some interim improvements which have never been finalized. and then lots 2 and lots 2.01, which are along Woodside Lane, and those are 2 smaller lots that are vacant and wooded. The existing land use, when we look at the tax map and the tax data, shows this property as having, the pink is commercial uses, and so you can see the office building is identified as office or commercial. The gray areas are vacant, and the remaining portion of the study area is vacant. And surrounding it, to the east and to the west along Route 22 are commercial uses, and then residential uses to the below those uses along the highway, and then also the pink is listed in tax lingo as church and charitable, which is the Fraternal Order of the Eagles property to the south. The zoning of the property is M1B, which is limited manufacturing, and which is consistent with the zoning along Route 22 going west. But you can see in the green shades are the residential zones, both low density and medium density, as well as some townhouse zoning as well. So the development history of the site is interesting. The Graymark office campus was originally approved in 1981 as 3 phases, and it was to have 3 office buildings. The one that was built on lot 1.03, but 2 others on the rest of the tract. That approval was amended in 1986, 1987, and 2000. In 1987, Building 1 and the stormwater basin were completed. In 2004, Building 2 and other improvements associated with it on Lot 1.04 and 1.02 were begun, but they were never finished. In 2005, there was a proposal, an application for a use variance to permit 2 hotels on the site, which was denied. In 2014, a similar application was proposed and denied, and in 2023, an applicant has proposed a warehouse with a use variance for the site, and that application remains idle as we go through this process.
Mr. President, just one brief commentary point, because this came up in the planning board hearing. If you look at this this map and you go just to the other side of Adamsville Road, and just on the other side of the Chelsea neighborhood that's there, that's the location of, that's the former Days Inn property. That is where there was consideration, the brand change of the Residence Inn, and there's still approval for Spring Hill. The Adamsville Road serves as the divider between where hotels are permitted and where hotels are not. So that's why those 2 applications went before the zoning board twice.
We did look back at aerial photography to see how the site conditions progressed relative to what we know about the development history here. So the first aerial we were able to obtain is a 1995 aerial, and this is an infrared, so lawns show up as red, but the parking lot shows up as gray, and the trees you can see there. So phase 1 office building and parking area has been constructed at this point. The on-stream stormwater basin and spillway on the eastern portion near the office building were constructed, but you can see the rear of the property to the south is still, it appears wooded, and I can't tell you from this aerial what the nature of the woods were, but it was wooded and vegetated. In 2000, there was another approval for these office buildings, 2 office buildings to the rear, which was different from the original approval, and this was the basis for site improvements going forward, and we can see what happened after these approval in 2000. The area that was wooded in the rear was cleared, and the construction started on whatever that approval was on those 2 buildings. In 2004, we can see that this construction is moving along, and we can see the construction of an additional 58 parking spaces for tenants of the existing office. We can see that there's a common driveway. You can see, hopefully you can see on there's like a fresh, I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see the dark pavement is pretty fresh. And then to the south of the parking lot and the existing office building, you can see that there's a rectangle of red soil there. That's an area that's being prepped for construction of the building. And around that, you can see this gray area. That is the area that was prepped for parking. The subbase and the filter fabric or soil separator fabric was installed at that time. And there was clearing of the eastern half of that back portion as well, and the beginning of the installation of other improvements. But in 2015, the next area we find, you can see that the progress in the construction never really made it past that point. Not only did it not make it past that point, but you can see that the building pad is starting to have overgrowth come in. There looks like there's some dirt and some washout in the gravel areas that were prepped for the parking area. And you can also see that there were some steel beams that were stored there. Don't know what those are stored there for, but storage of steel beams is not a permitted use, so that something was going on there. But the development did not progress, and these improvements, however they were, stayed in the ground. This slide shows, it's more diagrammatic to show you the areas that were constructed but never completed. The orange on this slide shows the pavement of the partially constructed parking area and the access drive. The red indicates stormwater conveyances. And then if we go south, there's a cleared and unstabilized dirt area. That's about 1.6 acres to give you a sense of the scale. And the gravel area that was the base for the parking is about 3.1 acres. So there's roughly 4.5 acres of area that was planned to be developed and is relatively impervious out there. So when I look at this, the findings were, as we know, the redevelopment criteria relates to obsolescence, dilapidation, conditions that are showing degraded properties. And that's what we found out there. We found that these conditions were obsolescent and dilapidated. The existing office building and parking area are part of a 1981 approval. Even though the building was completed with these new improvements, they stalled. And these partial improvements included the clearing of the woodland, the grading of the parking area and building area, installation of stormwater management elements. But these don't comply with current standards. And they were never completed, so they were never fully connected to the stormwater system that was being built out there. There were also construction of certain paved areas which don't have edging, and so there's a lot of degradation of those things out there. I'm going to run you through some of the photographs of the evidence that we saw out there. This is the existing driveway, the common driveway that has an access easement to provide access to the entirety of the tract. This is the gravel area. So when we look out the pink area on the plan, this is the area, and you can see there's a hedgerow in the distance, but this area of the gravel is really not revegetating. It's got weeds and things in there, but it's still a gravel area. And when you look up close, you can see this gravel and the condition that it was left in since roughly 2004. We also see the existing stormwater catch basins that have been put out there are starting to have erosion around them, and they are not connected to any pavement or any conveyances to get the stormwater under control. So these are not controlling the runoff that's out there. Some of these inlets that were installed are being filled with dirt. They're just filling up, and they're non-functional, but they're still out there. We also found remains of stormwater management infrastructure that's in progress. It's never been installed, but it's just dumped out there. And this image here, there's a vegetated swale that was designed at the very bottom of the site along where the Fraternal Order of the Eagles are. And that was designed to clean water as well as delay the water going to the stream, the Cuckles Brook. Well, that hasn't been maintained. It was built, it hasn't been maintained. This shot is of a head wall that's presumably taking water from the site into this area, but it's not connected, so it's not functioning. This is another view of the on-stream stormwater basin and wetlands, which has not been maintained in the back. This is the concrete spillway and outlet control structure. There's this large riprap area near the stream, which presumably was put there for erosion control. And we see that the gravel that is out there is starting to erode. And when you see the red coming up through it, that's the native soil that's coming up through it. So there's erosion going on out there, and that's not a good thing when it comes to water quality. This is an area right off the existing parking lot. This is near the added parking lot that was meant to serve the office building, but it was never finished. So there's this erosive condition at the edge of this where stormwater is not controlled and where the pavement is degrading and soils are degrading. This is an image of a manhole. I don't know whether that's sanitary or whether it's stormwater, but it's out there. This is another shot of the edge of the pavement that's degraded and is not good. This image is demonstrates that ponding is occurring because the stormwater is not being managed out there. And when you see those little, those brown seed heads, that's common bulrush or Typha latifolia. It's an obligate wetland plant, and when you see that, that means that wetlands are starting to form. So if this were left unchecked, you may develop freshwater wetlands out there, which would be regulated by the state and could make it even more difficult to redevelop this site. But it's signs of neglect. And here's more exposed gravel on the site. And then looking back from the south towards the existing office building, you can see the erosion and the soil that's still exposed there after since almost 20 years. This is another condition which was a temporary condition that has remained basically a permanent condition. And this is the edge of the parking lot expansion. And you'll notice that cars are parked up to the line in the center, but there's no cars parked after that because there's no driveway on that side to access those parking spaces. Not only that, there's no curbing installed in order to control the runoff, so that's the runoff from the parking lot is going uncontrolled into the rear of the site there, and there's no access for parking.
And Mr. President, one of the things that was mentioned was that's also impacting the Cuckles Brook, which is just a bit to the further east of there.
That's correct.
And I know we've had conversation about how that has also created challenges downstream.
That's correct. The dilapidation and the obsolescence that we see out there, in order for the finding that the planning board made that this is a redevelopment area, you need to connect these conditions of obsolescence or dilapidation with the negative impacts. And what Councilman Kirsch just talked about is exactly what the issue is here. You've got a series of improvements that were built in half-built in 2003, 2004, and there was a 4+ acres of impervious coverage and exposed soil that was put out there, and it was never connected fully to the stormwater management system from a water quality perspective or from a volume perspective or from a rate perspective. So essentially you've installed a bunch of impervious coverage and you've got exposed soils and you're just letting nature decide when it rains where this runoff goes. There's no stormwater controls for this area that are keeping it from going into the brook. And the negative impacts of having too much water can result in flooding, and we know that in the record, when there were hearings previously on this site, that there was discussions about flooding downstream from this site. There are water quality issues, and water quality affects, it can actually silt up and reduce the volume of conveyance within a stream channel, which causes flooding. It also impacts wildlife habitat and the wildlife health and surface water quality and the water quality of the stream. So those are the negative impacts that we found and we talked about with the planning board.
And I'm sorry, just one other thing. The lesson really is when you're going to, I'm sorry.
Why don't you let him finish?
All right.
It's okay. So those were some of the things that we found were the negative impacts. Additionally, besides the unmanaged stormwater runoff and the soil erosion that's going on out there and the siltation, we also find that there's a missing tax revenue here. And that the conditions out on this site are going to require a substantial amount of investment to remove them and retool this site in a way that complies with current stormwater management regulations while allowing development. The assessment for the property is about $15 million total, but the undeveloped portion of the site is $4 million, which is it's about $10 million for the office building in that lot. If this had been developed fully back in the 2000s, we estimate that the tax assessment might be closer to about $30 million, or 3x what it is now. So it's important for, and in my opinion, that the tools that the redevelopment statute affords can be used to help remediate these conditions and get the site redeveloped and get some ratables here as well. And I think that that's a detrimental impact that we cited. So for all those reasons, it was my opinion, and the planning board agreed with me, that the study area met criterion D. Additionally, H, criterion H is the smart growth criteria. It's a bit softer. Folks have a hard time with it, but basically it means that if you're doing, looking at a redevelopment area in an area like Planning Area 1, Planning Area 2, Planning Area 3, as designated by the state plan, that it promotes smart growth. And so I also found that it does do that. It's criterion H. Lot 1.03, though, does not meet the criteria, in my opinion, on its own. However, the statute, the redevelopment statute, says that if you have properties which are in and of themselves not meeting the criteria as a redevelopment area, but are necessary for the effective redevelopment of the rest of the redevelopment area, then they can be included too. And that was my findings with respect to with lot 1.03, which contains the existing office building and parking lot. And that's because if you look at that, and I tried to enlarge the photograph here, you can see that it's got a shared access driveway that gives access not just to lot 1.03, the office building, but also the rear of the property. It's got overlap of parking areas which cross property lines. But there's also stormwater infrastructure that's going to cross over these lots. So in order to not have difficulties with an entity trying to redevelop this, whether it's for finance reasons or whatever it is, that it was my opinion that this should be included as well, so that you don't have any of those difficulties around the edges trying to redevelop this. So that really is the summary of my findings, and which were summarized in the preliminary investigation, were discussed with the planning board, and at the end of the day, the planning board recommended to the governing body that the entirety of the study area should be designated as an area of redevelopment. So, thanks for listening, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Michael, your turn.
Just the other comment from the planning board was, with respect to that partial completion of improvements,
concluded the closed session. Could I have a motion to close the closed session?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion second. Are you able to get that? All those in favor, say saying aye.
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 Okay, we are now up to the part in the agenda that I like the most, and that is a motion to adjourn. Would someone
Make
like
that
to
motion.
make that motion? Alan makes it. Okay, I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, folks. You were great.
Thank you. Wasn't that bad? I thought it was going to be a tough one.
Grace better watch over Michael Kirsch remembers Wally Pipp, the New York Yankees. You're gonna be over.
Oh, one day in the future, long time.